If some of my biggest reading wrap-ups have been this year, this is my smallest reading wrap-up I've had in a very, very long time. I'm like, I read so little. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. I'm just gonna apologize in advance if I don't have my usual upbeat energy because I and my son are both recovering from some 24-hour stomach bug, and I probably should have waited and just skipped filming this video, but I'm like, I loved so many of the things that I read this past month that I'm like, I really don't want to skip it. I still want to talk about these books. As I mentioned, this was my smallest reading wrap-up that I have had, or that the books that I've read this month, with only 18, and one of those was an art book, so technically 17 manga titles that I read this month. As you guys know, I've shared about it. I think it was in an earlier video or maybe a few different videos. I have been playing Tears of the Kingdom, and it's been really hard to choose reading over playing Tears of the Kingdom because it's usually mostly very relaxing to play, especially when I'm on the Sky Islands, and so I have been sort of using that as like a de-stressor or just wanting to play. I've been trying to get back in the gear of reading things because I really do miss it, and that is my ultimate de-stressor and just relaxer. Anyway, with that ramble aside, sorry about that, I read, like I said, 18 volumes this month, with one of them being a digital only title. Technically I read a total of 3, but 2 of them I got physically. So the digital title that I read this past month was Love, That's an Understatement. This is by the same manga creator of Lovesick Ellie, and it was amazing. This is the perfect delinquent romance that I have been looking for so long, and I'm so bummed that it's digital only. I'm like, Kodansha, please, you have published Lovesick Ellie physically. Please publish this manga's other work physically because it was perfection. I loved everything about it. There was like maybe one moment where I felt it was a little bit overly dramatic in one scene. I'm not sure what that scene was, but I do remember feeling that way. But even with feeling that way and coming in with low expectations, it just blew me out the water. The romance was everything I've been wanting. I love the characters. Risa, she's an amazing heroine. I like how she's different, where she's always prepared and comes off very cold and standoffish when she's really not. And our love interest, Zen, sees that she's not who other people are saying that she is. Even with Zen, she's seeing like, okay, his bad boy image is not really matching with things that people are saying about him in the town. And I'm like, yes, it ended on a cliffhanger. It was very good. I would highly recommend if you're, like I said, looking for that delinquent romance. It's very clean, very sweet. This is it. I am begging Kodansha to print this because I need it. Going into the physical manga now, though, originally I read this one digitally, and that is volume 2 of my special one. I had some mixed feelings for this one because I loved volume 1. It was very funny. I loved our heroine here, and even Koda, he was really interesting to me. With volume 2, it was not bad, but where the mixed feelings came in is I came in with the expectation that this volume was going to be just as funny as the first volume. This volume was not that funny. It took a turn, not a bad turn, mind you, but it took a turn on a much more serious and sadder note where you get Koda's backstory and you find out some answers to what happens at the end of volume 1. And while I appreciated knowing more about Koda, it was just not what I was anticipating or expecting. This was the manga that I mentioned I was excited to read on the Viz app. I mentioned that in this video here because I am a little bit nervous to go forward because I love the humor a lot. She's the same art creator as No Longer Heroine, which I love that series so very much. Volume 3 comes out this month and I am absolutely hyped. Like, yes. Anyway, I am not going to pick up any more volumes physically just because I'm unsure of the direction. I think the romance is very sweet and I admire a heroine for not giving up and her deciding, okay, I have decided to, or I have fallen in love with somebody. I'm not going to give up this crush so easily, despite if Koda is not encouraging her. But when she finds out that reason of why he's not encouraging her and has pushed her away, it was very emotionally moving. Definitely makes these characters more three-dimensional. I didn't feel like they weren't in the first volume, but there's a lot more depth to them. So if you're looking for a story that maybe it starts off really lighthearted and then it takes a turn where you're really diving into these characters' lives and you're seeing more to them than just in a romance, this is one I would recommend checking out. I finally read it. I don't know how long this volume has been out, but I finally read Play It Cool Guys Volume 4, and I absolutely loved it. I do not know why I waited so long. I know I received my pre-order pretty late and didn't get it like around the release time, and I don't know if just so much time passed, and then I got it, and then I like lost my excitement, and I'm like, Laura, do not ever make that a mistake again, because I love this. Our goofy guys are absolutely amazing. The new guy, it starts with an M, I can't think of his name, but that he joined the crew, and I was really actually nervous because I love our 4 original guys very, very much, and I'm like, I just don't know, but he fits in right at home. I loved his chapters. I love seeing him get to know all of the guys, and just all of our guys grow closer together. They still have their goofs, and I love when they're like together and not alone and they have goofs. It's so priceless because they don't always necessarily roll with it, but some of them do, and it just makes the situation that more funnier in my opinion. They did go to the beach finally, and I was so excited. It was very much worth it. I very much loved it. It was just a great, relaxing, funny read, and I love them so much. I'm so happy that we finally have a pre-order date for Volume 5. I do not know what it is off the top of my head, but I will leave it right here because I'm like, I need it. I can't believe I waited so long. So this was very, very good. Continue to highly recommend the series. It's in my all-time favorites I've ever read. I definitely need to reread the previous volumes, and I even reread Volume 3, I think last month, no, not last month, but the month before last, because I was like, okay, we need to get on Volume 4, but I'm glad that I actually waited because this was just such a great way to spend my evening, especially since school was about to be getting out and whatnot, and there was just a lot going on with hospital visits and all of that stuff. So I'm glad that I actually did wait, even if at the same time I'm like, why did I wait? So very much continue to recommend this series. I decided to be brave and try a new release, and that is My Stepmother and Stepsisters Aren't Wicked. My friend Bo, he was actually the one I blame for me picking this up because I remember him saying at some point shortly after the license announcement that he really enjoyed this and it sounded, or he said it sounded engaging. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it too because it does sound really engaging, and it was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed this one as well. It's very slice of life, and I will warn, if you don't really enjoy chapters where the beginning starts off the same and it has the same beats every chapter, this might not be one that you really enjoy, but I felt that even though it had that and I was knowing what was going to happen next when it comes to those beats, it was still very original, and I needed to see what was going to happen for our Cinderella and how her stepmother, how her stepsisters were going to react, because their reactions to her and how they treated her was like, I never knew what to expect except that it was going to be very funny, and it always was. The way that they love on her is very beautiful. I really just like how even our Cinderella character, that she grows throughout the volume. Like, it's sort of slow to a degree, but not in a bad way. Like, I never found any of this boring, even with the repetition. Each situation is very different in what is happening and how the stepsisters are going to treat her, even though you know they're going to treat her good. And I loved at the end that it was a happy ending. I'm very curious. I already have Volume 2 pre-ordered, and I just have to say, I love this stepsister right here. They're both very different, but I think she is the funnier one to me, and I love how she'll actually razz her. And the stepmother, I will say, out of any character, the stepmother was the most funniest, because you knew when she came on scene, everybody was gonna feel pretty afraid at first, and then the stepmother just flips everything on its head, and it was perfection. Highly recommend if you're looking for a slice of life. It's a very short volume. I read it pretty fast, unfortunately, and was pretty bummed because I was enjoying it so much. That's why I was bummed. And the art is absolutely wonderful, very, very pretty. You can very much see the love that these women have for our Cinderella, and I can't wait for the next one. I felt like the beginning of this month was really me trying to catch up on some of my older series that like I but like I did not keep reading for whatever reason. And so I read another one, and that is The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today, Volume 2. Marg sent this to me. I don't remember when she sent this to me. Another one I wish I would have started reading sooner because it was so much fun. I talked about this in my latest Top 5 Wednesday video about cat manga. Just, it's such a fun series. I'm not sure what to say about Another Slice of Life, but I talked about in that video of how our main girl here declared how she never wanted to get married because she never wanted to lose her cat. This had that scene in this volume. I found I really enjoyed it once again. has the boss's niece, and just plenty of humor. It's an interesting and great story, and I very much need to get volume 3. And I will mention that I talked more about it in that Cats manga if you want to know more about the series. This was another manga I originally read digitally through NetGalley, and then I decided to pick it up physically, and that is volume 1 of the Yakuzas Bias. I came in thinking, I don't know what to expect, but it's basically a Yakuza guy. He starts to really like K-pop, but this specific idol that he just absolutely stands, and it's his journey of him getting hooked on K-pop, but again, specifically this K-pop singer in this group, and it was so funny. I enjoyed it so much that I decided to get it physically because I could not get enough of it. I'm not really into K-pop idols. I mean, I do like some K-pop, but I can't say that I stan anybody or anything. I just appreciate the music. And even though I don't have that kind of background, so to speak, I still found I was able to relate and just appreciate this story. I think it's considered a gag manga because there is so much laughter, things that he does, and with his expressions and just the way that he loves this idol is just, it's so, I don't know, I was gonna say heartwarming, but that's not the right word. It's so funny, but also it's really moving, and I really appreciate how we actually at times get the point of view from the idol, and the things of like what he says and how he reacts are just priceless. It's a very enjoyable story. If you enjoy reading Yakuza manga and you're looking for something different, this is one you definitely need to check out. And I love this guy here. He is so funny because he just admires him so very much, because the main guy, his name is Ken. He is really high up in this Yakuza gang and in this Yakuza household, and this is one of his like underlings, I guess, left his job and everything to follow him and be up under him as a subordinate, and he does not understand why Ken has changed so much. And even this guy, this is his right-hand man, and he is so passive on everything, but yet he can say things that just know how to get rid of the tension, because it was between Ken and somebody else. They started arguing about who was the best idol in this group, and he just came in and diffused the entire situation with things that were related to the household. Maybe that's sort of vague. I'm trying to keep it vague, but I love what he's in there. And this is the boss's niece who gets Ken hooked on things. I always enjoyed when she was on there, how she sort of widens his horizons, so to speak. It's great. It's a great unexpected first volume that I did not expect to love as much as I did. I think it was probably one of my favorite reads this month, not my ultimate favorite, but one that I really, really enjoyed. I realized I forgot to mention it earlier because I did read it before I read these, and I read the Haikyuu Art Book, and let me just say, I cried multiple times reading this. Thank you so much, Viz Media, for printing this in English. I actually have not an unboxing, but I flipped through the art book here if you want to check it out. It was the Japanese version. My husband got that for me, I think for Mother's Day or my birthday last year, but I did sell it even though I didn't want to, but I was like, I need the English version. It is hardback, and it's so nice. It's so beautiful. If you are a Haikyuu fan, I highly and strongly recommend checking this out. I was a little bit disappointed with the interview with Sensei, which was specifically not the interview. I love the interview. It was the notes at the end about the different pages, and I sort of blamed the art book of Demon Slayer because the manga creator gave like these really in-depth thoughts about the different pages he made. While Sensei did not do that. He would talk more about what markers he used, or like here, he's like, I drew this on folded paper. Kyoko's getting ready to run. I gave the lines on this a very brush-like feel. So there wasn't as much like thoughts into why he did or his personal take on it. And I was a little bit bummed by that. And I blame the Demon Slayer art book for that because I felt like I was just really spoiled, because I would honestly buy the Demon Slayer art book just for the notes that the creator left on their artwork, because it was very, very interesting. But outside of that, this is perfection. The pages are so big, I can't open it with one hand. Beautiful. I really took my time reading this, and that's why I cried so much, because I love these characters. They changed my life, and very, very happy to have this in my hands. Going back to the manga that I read this month, I also read Honey Lemon Soda Volume 2. Man, I really enjoyed this volume, but I hated how how it ended. Oh my gosh, I am so upset with him. Oh my goodness. He made a decision and I don't agree with that decision, and Yuka deserves the best of things. And so I thought that the story was going to go one direction, and I'm a little nervous that this is going to be an antsy, slow burn kind of story, which isn't a bad thing, but it's going to drive me bonkers because if he makes more decisions like he did at the end of this one, I'm going to be really upset. Obviously, I still very much want Volume 3. I loved Volume 1. It's still one of my favorite reads of this year. I enjoyed this one, just not quite as much as Volume 1 because, like I said, Uka deserves the best of things and she's working and trying so hard. We continue to see that in this volume. She is really spreading her wings, and just for what happens at the end, just know. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next volume, but he's in the doghouse currently. That's all I'm going to say. But it's a very excellent volume. The art continues to be so beautiful, and I'm just like, you better not be playing with our girl's heart or her feelings because she does not deserve that. So I definitely, again, enjoyed this volume, but just the end. Just brace yourself. I don't know if other people felt this way because I haven't seen anybody voice what happened, but it very much upset me. And I'm like, I need Volume 3 to see what happens and if he redeems himself in the third volume. I tried a new manga, which is very much new for me, and that's Volume 1 of Me and My Beast Boss. I think this is considered a furry romance, and I have not really read a furry romance. If we want to say Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts is a furry romance, which I can't say much on that, but that would be the only one because I'm not going to spoil it because anyway, I'm just not going to spoil it. But Me and My Beast Boss was a very interesting story. Do not be deceived by this very cute cover and the very cute spine and the cute back. This did have some very triggering moments. They were brief, but I will say that our main girl, Saki, she is harassed physically and verbally at work, and there are very brief scenes, but you do see them, and I did feel they were very triggering and very upsetting. Her boss needs to be thrown in jail, not our lion man here, not Mr. Atlas, not him, but her boss before Mr. Atlas. That man needs to be thrown in jail, and he just needs to rot in there. I could not stand the things he did. I mean, I know that there is abuse that happens at work, but to see it on display like this was very, very hard, especially when Saki is doing her absolute best, knowing what has happened to Saki and seeing how Mr. Atlas treats her, who is her new boss, the CEO, and how he cares for her and respect her was very, very moving. And I do want to read the second volume, even though I confess I'm a little unsure of the romance. It is very sweet and it is very cute, but I don't know how I feel just yet. But because of Saki and Atlas treating her so well, I really want to see that. I want to see Saki to be able to overcome the fears that she has had as a result of trauma that has happened to her or that she has gone through. Like, I just need her, like Yuka, I need to see the happiest of things happen for her. I want her to continue to be recognized at work for the hard work she is doing because she is working her butt off, and it's just, again, so nice to see Atlas appreciate that. Atlas is a very sweet character. I really like how he is like this lion and so many people are afraid of him, but when Saki gets to know him, he's actually very, very kind and very sweet. I feel like he's like this giant lovable lion, and he has some very cute blushy moments that I did like. And Saki, going back to her, I will just say the way her hair is drawn in the manga is beautiful. I feel like it has its own personality, so to speak, and just the way the manga creator draws it just makes her hair look really cool. I know it's sort of random, but the art was very beautiful. But I think if you like furry romance, or you're looking for a story where you see a young woman who has been treated so unfairly in the workplace and now is getting recognized and moving up the corporate ladder, so to speak, because her efforts have been recognized, this is one I would highly recommend. Again, just keep an eye out, or be aware, not keep an eye out, be aware of the triggers that I did mention because they're brief, but I do still feel like they were very upsetting to me personally. Oh man, I'm a little bit nervous to talk about this one because I feel like I'm the only one outside of one friend named Jen, but I did read volume 1 of The Dragon King's Imperial Wrath, falling in love with the bookish Princess of the Rat Clan. That is a title. I love this cover. It is so beautiful. I love the premise of the story. I liked the story, but why I feel very hesitant to say anything because I don't want anybody coming after me and be like, oh, you hated on it, because everybody has loved it. I love most of it. I love our heroine. She has definitely been one of my favorites. I feel like it wraps up. There was something she said, I think at the beginning, where she was like, I don't care about getting married to the Dragon King or Dragon King, because he's looking for a bride from these different clans. They have sent a bride candidate and she's like, you know what, I'm just here for the library. And that really sums up her character, and absolutely loved her. She's very curious and I just thought she was so cool. I adore her. So the issue came in with the lack of consent, and I was very surprised how much it personally bothered me. There were two moments he does kiss her and that was a lack of consent there, but that didn't bother me. There's a scene that happens later on where the Dragon King does something to our rat princess while she's asleep. It really bothered me. I would say it was a little bit triggering for me personally. I had to really think about, okay, why did that bother me so much? And I'm not going to go into that because that's just for me personally. With that said, I definitely would recommend this, but I feel if you do not mind a lack of consent, because the fantasy world building is amazing. I love the characters. I even like the Dragon King himself, and our rat princess is absolutely amazing. And some of the other characters, they're really fascinating, and I'm very curious about this world and seeing these new freedoms that the rat princess has. I'm blanking on her name. Ruin? I don't know if that's how you say her name, but it was very beautiful just seeing her have a chance to experience things she has not experienced before due to her life back at home, due to things that have happened. It was very rewarding in that sense, but that lack of consent really bothered me. I'm on the fence if I will continue with volume 2. I don't think this is a bad story at all, so please don't walk away thinking that I hate this, because that was not the case. Just that lack of consent bothered me, and that's the only warning I would give. Otherwise, I would highly recommend it because it's just a fun story. I did hear that this was only 3 volumes, so it has me even more on the fence if I should stop here, because I want to see what's going to happen. Is she going to genuinely start having feelings for our Dragon King and not just love his library more than she loves spending time with him, if that makes sense? Oh my goodness, it's here. So many of us have been waiting for it. A Sign of Affection, Volume 6. It was everything. Literally, I started reading this within 5 minutes of getting it from my mailbox, and I loved it so much, but the weight of knowing I have to wait till October for Volume 7 is just absolute agony. This volume was perfection. I actually need to go back and reread it because I read it so incredibly fast. So one thing I want to mention, I forget how you say his name, but Oshi, I think I'm saying his name wrong, but him here, I have not liked him up to this point, but there was a very interesting scene that happens and I actually felt a lot of compassion for him and actually really liked his character. I never expected that, and obviously he is not, I do not want him to be the end game, even with that said, because I love our main couple so much. I love them. Itsumi is so sweet to Yuki, and you just see that. You see their relationship getting deeper. I admire Yuki. She makes some pretty bold decisions in this one, and I'm just like, the cliffhanger, oh my goodness, the cliffhanger. So if you have not picked up or read Sign of Affection Volume 6, you need to read it. It continues to get better, more sweeter, more investing with every single volume. I also liked Itsumi's friend, and I really am just loving the communication between our two leads here, because I was just like, this is what good, happy romance is. Cannot wait for the next volume though. I need it like yesterday. Okay, so I thought A Sign of Affection would be my favorite read, and I very much loved it. It is in one of my favorite reads, but it's not my favorite read of this month, and that is Hi, I'm a Witch and My Crush Wants Me to Make a Love Potion, Volume 2. I love this. I squealed. I mean, I squealed when I read A Sign of Affection, but I don't know. This just hit differently, and I think it's because with Volume 1, it didn't quite meet my expectations. I read it twice, 2 or 3 times actually, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it, but Volume 2, this was what I was looking for, and Volume 1, I loved it so incredibly much. The feels that I felt, it was perfection. I'm so glad that I didn't decide to drop this series or anything. I wasn't planning to, but I think that that have been sort of at the back of my mind. If I did not enjoy this volume, that would be it. But oh my goodness, the development between our leads and seeing things about our hero, just, oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. I'm trying to think of what I could say. Oh, and the art was beautiful, and I'm just like, thank you, Yen Press, for giving us Volume 3 sometime later this year, because this also ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, they better get together at some point, because if they don't, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because they are just perfect for each other, and I love how things have just sort of come out, whether intentional or not intentional, and just, it's so good. You need to read it if you have not read it. Very, very good. That's all I can say without giving any kind of spoiler. Another really good one that man, I don't know what my favorite manhwa is. I feel like I read Ray Leanna, I'm like, that's my favorite one. I read this one, I'm like, this is my favorite one, but Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 3. I love this series. Penelope is a girl boss that slays. I am always admiring her decisions, the things that she does, and this one, she just slayed times 100. Reynold, I hate his guts. I mean, I sort of liked him in the first 2 volumes, but after an event in this, no. Cannot stand him. No, he needs to get away from Penelope. There is nothing he can do to redeem himself at this point. No. I was so mad after that scene. I actually had to put my book down, go take a breather, because I'm like, girl, you tell him off. He deserved it. And then just later, when Penelope sees him, they talk and they have sort of not really a confrontation. I'm like, girl, you slay again. You're just so cool, Penelope. I love her, man. I really, really do. This was another fantastic volume. We had lots of Eccles, and I really personally like Eccles. I don't know if I'm shipping anybody with Penelope. The people I know who have read ahead in the, like, on Tappy Tunes or Tapas, whichever this is available on, they don't ship them together. I sort of feel like with how things unfolded with Eccles in this volume, I feel it's good, but I think Penelope, I think it's gonna backfire on her. I really do. It's just a hunch. I feel like it's a little bit too easy. We have Callisto, I think that's how you say his name. He still terrifies me as a reader, and everybody's shipping Penelope with him, and I'm like, obviously there must be something I don't know just yet, because I'm like, when he's on, I feel Penelope's fear, and it just rubs off on me. The ending was very much a cliffhanger, and Callisto did not react to what Penelope says in a way that I thought he would, so that did throw me for a loop. I really, really enjoy this manhwa a lot. I do feel it is one of my favorites because, again, I just admire Penelope and how she handles things and how strong she is, and just she is absolutely amazing. I would continue to highly recommend picking up these volumes. It's a beautiful, stunning manhwa. There's lots of things going on, but not in a confusing way, a way that just keeps you hooked and engaged. I'm really excited to talk about this one, and that is Even Dogs Go to Other Worlds, Life in Another World to My Beloved Hound, Volume 1. I talked about how this is the only doggo manga that I have on my shelf. It was very slice of life, very slow, but not in a bad way. I really like the characters. I love Leo. She's so cute. I'm very much looking forward to the next volume. Never felt bored. I felt actually pretty relaxed when this volume ended. I did not read short story. All that right there. I didn't read that, unfortunately, and I was bummed there was no author note from, like, the manga creator or the manga artist or the original creator. I was hoping there'd be something, but I'm very curious to see how things go for Takumi in this new world. I feel like there's actually not a lot to say about it, even though I really enjoyed it. I like the art and just the characters. I mean, you're really here for Takumi and Leo and seeing them have a happy life, because he did die from over fatigue. I think something happened to his heart. So now they're in this fantasy world with Leo being this giant wolf, and both of them I'm pretty sure are OP, though Takumi, I don't think he knows it yet. I don't think he knows it, but he has some kind of gift because certain things happen, and I'm just like, that shouldn't have happened. So you got some kind of ability here. I also like the heroine. I definitely ship them. There's not really any romance at all, but I think that they're gonna be a couple. It'd be weird if they weren't at this point, because they hit it off instantly just as really good friends. And I just love this page and these panels. It's very great. So can't wait for the next one. I think it's gonna build up more steam and momentum as it keeps going. I can't wait to see what happens next. Oh my goodness, I love this series. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and that is volume 3 of a condition called Love. We just got a leak that there is an anime coming out. It's not official yet. We should know actually sometime in June, according to the magazine, but oh my goodness, I love them. They keep growing on me. I mean, I've really liked them from volume 1, but these two are just amazing. And Honoru, I really love seeing the small, bold actions that she took in this volume, because she's uncertain many times and feels like she messes up all the time, but she's starting to be like, well, even if I mess up, I wouldn't say she says it's okay, but she knows that Hanoi is going to be there. I think it says his name wrong, but she knows he'll be there, and she just continues to keep growing as a character and just as a character in this relationship, and she's not afraid to say things how they are. I would say I like seeing her sort of struggle or think about things from her past, but I do think it helped shape her to make the decisions that she made and being more vocal, not in a bad way. We had Valentine's Valentine's Day, and that was everything. I very much enjoyed it. Though our hero here, he made a decision, and it was at a moment that I was like, that didn't just happen. I'm about to throw my manga. Like, no, he just did not say or do that thing. I did not see it coming whatsoever. It was very much a shock factor for me. Thankfully, things wrapped up and everything was okay by the end, because if it wasn't, I would have been very livid and very, very upset. These two are precious little beings. I would say that he does have a little bit of another red flag moment, but again, I continue to feel just that there's something that has happened to him, and we get the briefest glimpses from another character that talks to Hotaru, so I don't feel he's genuinely a red flag and someone to be alarmed of. I just think that this is a young man that's hurting, and truly, I want the happiest of things for him. I mean, I do for Hotaru too, but I just feel like he has just had some really bad things happen in his life that have made him who he is now, and very nervous and at times jealous that Hotaru is going to leave and what he's going to do. I want him to be in this relationship with her and be happy, but even greater than that, I want him to feel confident in himself that regardless if she were to leave, that he would know that he still has value and he is worthy and worth it as a human being. Like, that is the ultimate thing I really want, and I never expected reading a high school romance that would be one of the #1 things that I want the most and look forward to seeing in a series, when usually I love the romance, and I definitely do. It's very beautiful. I'm like, please bring on volume 4. I need it. And last but not least, I will say right now, though, I'm apologizing to my Discord friends because I talked about how I was going to read it. I did get volumes 1 and 2, the omnibus of Don't Call It Mystery, but some things would happen. I got sick and I wanted something fluffy, so I have not read Don't Call It Mystery just yet, but I did actually pre-order volume 2 with my Right Stuff coupon the other day for the second omnibus, so it will come. I will talk about it, but I decided to go ahead and start with Red Hair, volumes 1 through 3. This was amazing. I was like, I loved it more the second time. I've read up to volume 4 of the volume, so it's been over 2 years, and it's so beautiful. Shirayuki and Zen, I love them. I wrote a sort of long, rambly post last night of how I feel like the series is impacting me differently, because you see how Shirayuki and Zen treat encounters and how they're so special, and how encounters with any person, even if it's just briefly, how they affect who we are today, and how we can choose to make the choice of like, this encounter affected us badly or in a good way. But I really, really love that. I think it's just a very beautiful part of this series, and the romance is like so much sweeter than I remembered, and I was like, I love them. I love them. I had to refrain the urge last night to not go on Etsy and go shop for some merch, because I know the struggle is going to be real. It has been interesting re-seeing everybody. Like, I really loved Obi before, but I forgot how we meet him, and I forgot how much of a jerk Zen sort of is in the beginning, and Shirayuki is absolutely like slaying the decisions that she's making. I admire her so much, and I don't remember admiring her that much the first time, so it's been very enjoyable. Looking forward to reading the rest of the series, or that at least that's available anyway. And that, my friends, wraps up all of the things that I read last month. I did not expect to be so long-winded, but I really enjoyed so many of the things I read this month. It was a great month of reading, even if it was very small. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some things that you read last month? What were some of your favorite reads? I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!